I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission. It's hard to miss all the media attention on our nation's food model today. Everywhere you turn, there are more stories about environmental pollution and the depletion of our natural resources brought about by some of the ways that we produce our meat and eggs. But the good news is there's a very strong movement towards ultra-sustainable food production where the soil is actually made better every year, the animals are happier and healthier, and the food is even more nutritious. And more people are seeking out the farmers who are using these more responsible techniques. At the forefront of this movement is Joel Salatin of Polyface Farm in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. With 100 open acres, the family-run farm raises grass-fed beef, forage-based rabbits, pastured poultry, eggs, and forest-floor pigs. And the whole system is carefully choreographed without ever using chemical fertilizers or industrial animal feed. And yet, his farm is able to service over 3,000 families, 10 retail outlets, and 50 restaurants through on-farm sales and buying clubs. Joel is as outspoken about what is wrong with farming today as he is passionate about doing it right, and he and his family openly share their knowledge with others in the hope of healing the land 1 acre at a time.
We call this farm Polyface because it's the farm of many faces. We raise salad bar beef, pigerator pork, pastured chickens, both meat and eggs, pastured turkeys, hairpin rabbits, forestry products. And we call ourselves grass farmers because that differentiates us from annuals and tillage. Essentially, Americans are kind of brain damaged on grass because when we say grass, we think, a lawn or a golf course, that sort of thing. I'm talking about the kind of grass that grew here in the Shenandoah Valley 300 years ago when the early settlers wrote back letters home where they rode through the valley and said everywhere they went, they tied the grass in a knot above the horse's saddle. Grass historically has been the foundation of the entire nutritional program of civilizations, because that's what can be grown without tillage. Grass is the foundation of the whole herbivorous diet, which includes both, cows and draft animals, mules, horses. Up until very recently, all draft power, all the energy from a farm came from a perennial product that didn't require tillage. That's grass. And so it's that component. When we say we're grass farmers, what we're talking about is that we are honoring and producing the most historically normal carbon cycle, nutritive cycle, energy cycle that is solar driven in real time and actually builds soil the way nature has forever.
Joel, the term grass-fed is a highly desirable trait these days that everybody sort of looks for. But you're a guy that likes to come up with phrases of your own that are more fitting, and one that I really like is the one that you say is a salad bar?
Salad bar beef, yeah, as opposed to, grain-fed.
Yeah.
And of course, nutritionally for the cow is essentially a four-legged portable sauerkraut vat, a big fermentation tank. And what she wants is carbohydrate, is plant material, vegetation. She is an herbivore after all. And so what we want is a polyculture of a salad bar, just like, you know, you'd like to go to a salad bar with a lot of variety. Well, it's the same thing for the cow. So you know, as you walk along here, I mean, here's onion, here's narrow leaf plantain. Let's see what else we can find here. We've got here's wide leaf plantain. See, that's wide leaf, and this is narrow leaf. Okay, as we go along here, we've got here's a nice orchard grass, just beginning to head out a little bit. Of course, here's fescue. We'll put some fescue in there, and then this is bluegrass from you know, like Kentucky. That's real early stuff, bluegrass. And then let's see, we've got some dandelion here. Get a little bit of blossomy color here. Of course, the leaves of the dandelion, that's these kind of serrated leaves like that. And then let's see, there's these big ones right here are red clover. Those big leaves there, red clover. And then over here is white clover. There's some white clover blossomed out. And then of course you got these buttercups here, because it is spring, and so the buttercups are coming because it's wet. But at the end of the day, what you have then is this wonderful diversified salad bar that provides all this diversity in nutrition, mineral, enzyme for the cow. And actually, you know, some of these plants like it damper, drier, some like it colder, some like it warmer. Sure. And so they actually occupy a different profile in weather, growth, season, and all that. But at the end of the day, what you have is this very stable, diversified landscape of perennials that then feed that four-legged mowing machine. There's a huge contrast here at Polyface between how we raise the cattle and finish them compared to how the industry does. And you know, that starts, I would say, with this electric fence. The electric fence lets us control them. They're moved every day to a fresh salad bar every single day. And then the chickens come behind them. Rather than shooting them up with grubicides and parasiticides, the chickens sanitize behind the cows, the birds following the herbivores. And then the fertility is not maintained with petroleum-based chemical fertilizer, but rather with composting that we generate in the wintertime. And then that compost is actually, you know, the whole guts of the fertility program. So we're actually feeding the biology of the soil. And then another one is that we don't till these pastures. You know, typically people plant monocultures of things for the cows to eat. These are polycultures, what we call perennial prairie polycultures.
Joel, your whole farming system is like a well-orchestrated dance with all your animals in the grass.
Yeah, we call it ballet in the pasture.
That's good. Let's talk about how you time the grazing of your cows, and then why you follow up with the chickens after that.
Sure. Well, we're walking down an electric fence line here where they grazed yesterday, and then they've moved over here for today. So, you know, when you look at herbivores in nature, they are actually moving. They're not staying in one place, and they're being pushed by predators behind them, and that gives the grass a rest period to come back. Well, we don't have wolves and you know, lions and tigers here, but we do have high-tech electric fencing that allows us to create this same movement pattern across the landscape. And so by using the electric fence to define where the cows are for a day and giving the plants time to build up a head of steam, if you will, you know, to regrow, we actually produce way more biomass than you do in just a continuous grazed place. And that's the whole idea of what we call mob stocking, herbivorous solar conversion, lignified carbon sequestration, fertilization.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, got it. But then you bring in the chickens after that.
Then we bring the chickens in, and again, we're looking at nature, like, you know, nature's template, if you will, and saying, well, how does nature sanitize behind herbivores? And what you see is the egret on the rhino's nose. You see birds following the Cape buffalo in Botswana, you know, the wildebeest on the Serengeti, all those types of birds. And so we bring the eggmobiles behind the cows. The chickens scratch through the cow patties, eat out the fly larvae and the parasites and things, spread the cow patties out so they fertilize more ground. And of course, where the cows have recently grazed, there are worms and bugs and caterpillars and crickets and grasshoppers that are newly exposed that the chickens can then harvest as well. And so the chickens are used in their bird scavenging sanitation role. And so you have the bird and the herbivore in its natural symbiotic relationship that we orchestrate right here using high-tech electric fencing and our management to duplicate what nature does on a domestic scale.
Polyface works really hard to take every animal's natural tendency into consideration when adding it to the farm. Joel's son Daniel learned that firsthand as a young boy with a 4-H project. Today, Daniel is the farm manager at Polyface. Daniel, people are coming from hours away to buy your pasture-raised chicken eggs, and you know, that's one of your fortes here. But people at home are starting to get a little bit into that as well with their chickens. Talk about some of the advantages, though, to just the quality and the taste of the eggs.
Well, the quality of pastured eggs have not only nutritional values from higher omega-3s, higher beta-carotenes, because they're taking in all the pasture, they're transferring all that chlorophyll into the egg. So that's where the color comes from. That deep, rich orange is coming from all of the color of the pasture that they're eating. Now it's the egg. It's one of the way the homeowner can prove that they're actually getting a pastured egg is by that rich yolk. So all of those things add up to a better taste, and so it's a much better eating experience all around and better for our health.
And maybe it inspires some new farmers doing it the right way too.
Absolutely. We already have and have more, that just this trail of young farmers that have come from our education, and that's a really rewarding factor for me as a teacher and as us as a farm, that we have this lineage of other people around the country spreading the word and raising animals the way they should be.
Like a growing number of farms, Polyface has an on-site store where visitors can come and buy directly, which is one of the best ways to purchase the food you want from a source you trust. I'm sure you've heard the term free range and cage free when it comes to chickens and eggs, but those terms probably don't mean exactly what you think they do. When something is labeled cage free, it only means that the chickens were not in cages. They can still be confined to large buildings their whole life with little or no access to the outside. According to the USDA regulations, free range only means that the chickens were allowed access to the outside, with no specification as to the quality or the duration of time that they're allowed access to the space. And unfortunately, this term is being used on many products where the chickens have access but never actually make it to the outside. And perhaps you've seen a vegetarian raised label on eggs. Chickens are natural omnivores and normally get their protein from bugs and meat. Vegetarian raised means they never ate a bug outside. They were kept inside a building, eating only grain their entire life. At the moment, pasture-raised and pastured labels mean just that, and they're being used by farmers that want to distinguish themselves from the more industrialized term of free range. Plus, it better describes those animals that are allowed to roam and live most, if not all, of their days outside. So if you really want animals that have been allowed to live outdoors, then look for the pasture-raised label. Okay, hi, that'll do it. Now, aside from the labeling, how can we as consumers be assured that the eggs and the meat that we're buying are being raised in an eco-friendly way? Well, most importantly, get to know your farmer. Shop at a farmer's market or a co-op or even the farm itself. And an ethical farmer isn't going to have any issues with sharing information about their operation or even allowing you to come for a visit. And when you buy from your local farmer, you're helping a local business and the community and even the environment, all at the same time. Many farmers today are trying harder to work with the natural environment. A perfect example of this is the way Joel uses pigs to bring back life to a patch of land that would otherwise be unusable for farming.
So here we are to one of our pig pastures, and the pigs are on pasture because they get, of course, exercise, sunshine. They get to run around, you know, but the main thing is that they get to actually pick this grass. Again, we've got this salad bar for the pigs, so they get to eat, you know, they do get to eat the feed, which is a local GMO-free grain ration, but they also get cafeteria style, they get all this other grass that they want. So they get to choose, well, do I want to eat grass today? Do I want to dig some dirt today? Do I want to eat some feed today? And they get to make those choices. And what that does is it allows us to use a lot of marginal land that may not be good for other things, maybe good enough for pasture for cows, or good enough to grow a garden or something like that. We come into marginal land and open it up. This used to be forestal, but what's happening here is that the pigs are actually disturbing it just enough to germinate all of this latent seed bank, this perennial prairie polyculture. I mean, we're reverting back like 500 years ago to these old seed banks that were here and have been suppressed under a forestal overstory. And so by cutting down some of the trees, opening it up, and letting the pigs come in with their strategic disturbance, there's just a huge germination of all this seed bank, which then of course feeds the pigs, and it actually makes it more productive than when it's just a static system. So one of our roles, I believe, as humans, is to bring to the ecology just the right amount of exercise, massage, you could say, to that ecology, to stimulate it to actually be more productive, more diversified, and more stable than it would be in a static state. This is the whole operation. You got a feeder, you got a water trough down there, electric fencing. There's no concrete, no electricity, no petroleum, no big buildings. So it's a very gentle footprint. If you drove by this at 60 miles an hour, you wouldn't even know there was pigs raising here. Where most of industrial ag, the footprint, the infrastructure is so big, it dominates the landscape. This is embedded. So when the pigs are gone, it's exciting for the wild turkeys to come, and now they have openness to eat bugs and have their baby turkeys. The deer come in. I mean, there's deer manure all over the place because this encourages deer to come in. So this is a very a wildlife-friendly, gentle ecological footprint. And then finally, when the animals get up close to slaughter, we don't finish them on grain like a big feedlot situation. They're actually finished right on the salad bar, which you can test then with empirical scientific analysis. The riboflavin, the conjugated linoleic acid, the polyunsaturated fats, all of the nutrient profiles are just literally hundreds of a percent different than the regular grain finished feedlot type of animal. It preserves that whole herbivore concept right through to the final day, like a deer or an elk or something like that. And it completely revolutionizes the nutrient profile of the final product. No, this is not your standard beef. It's a whole different ballgame.
It's great to see farmers trying to make a difference in the way our food is produced. And by turning to nature, we really can create small food ecosystems that help the environment and nurtures healthier animals at the same time. And remember, we can choose the system we want by voting with our dollars with every food purchase we make. And we have more information on food systems like this on our website, and you'll find it under the show notes for this episode. And the address is the same as our name. It's growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Joe Lample. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World.